Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Uncanny Track's coverage of Star Trek Lower Decks versus the 70s Filmation animated Star Trek. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. Matt, how the hell are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Bob, but what the hell is this? What is this very short treks you have me watching?
Yes. So there have been, I think, is this the fourth very short trek? I think it's the fourth one. I thought all the others kind of sucked, but this one actually made me laugh. So instead, we're turning this into a triple-sized episode, although it probably won't actually be that long because the very short treks are, like the name says, very short. But Matt, what are the 3 animated episodes of Star Trek we were talking about tonight?
Bob, we're going to be talking about Holograms All the Way Down, the very short trek that appeared on September 27th of 23. Then we're going to be looking at Empathological Fallacies, which debuted September 28th. That's the episode of Lower Decks. And then we have our Filmation Star Trek episode, More Tribbles, More Troubles, which appeared October 6th, 1973.
50 years ago. And Matt, really, I didn't make you read that because I wanted to make you read the 3 titles. I made you read that because I wanted to make you read Empathological.
I appreciate it so much because you know I was going to screw up that one.
Hey, you did good. You did
Empathological. If you go more than 4 or 5 syllables, guys, it's beyond me.
So, Matt, to start with Holograms All the Way Down, you ever seen the Enterprise finale?
I've seen a clip of the last few minutes. I've seen that plenty of times of just how it pulls out from the holodeck thing.
Yeah,
which I think is probably what most Star Trek viewers that did not watch Enterprise, they've probably seen that. So this was not foreign to them.
Yeah, certainly now that I think about it, there's not a lot of meme content around Star Trek Enterprise. I think compared to the other shows, I would say it and Disco and Picard all kind of weaken the meme game, to be honest. But the thing that's the most memed about Enterprise tends to be the ending, tends to be Riker like in the cook suit, you know.
Right.
I think that people sometimes meme like Trip into Paul, but I don't think I see that as much as I see memes about the finale, about it all being a holodeck program, about Riker in the cook's outfit. So, yeah.
Well, we don't see a lot of content about Enterprise anyway, Bob, so this is not that unusual.
Although we do see a fair amount in the Lower Decks episode today.
That is true. I think we're shifting in that direction, but is that because Lower Decks is running out of content?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think so. It's that they've done the DS9 episode and they've done the Voyager episode. So, you know, as we were speculating, I think last week, Enterprise next season is only logical.
Yes, so it makes sense. All right, Bob. So let's talk about some of these other characters that we meet in this very short trek.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the many different holograms we go, or yeah, you call them holograms on the holodeck, right?
Holograms, yes. So
Holograms.
We go from the Enterprise one that you mentioned to late TNG with Troy and Riker, but then that freezes up, and we go to Quark and Garrick.
At least I thought that was Garrick. It was Garrick, right?
Yeah,
I wasn't totally
it probably was because they mentioned so that because then the next time they freeze and pull out, it's Tendi and Mariner.
They say that's how we got the Romulans into the Dominion War. So yeah, that would imply it's Garrick.
Correct. Yes. And then he was also dressed pretty snazzy too. So I'm going to go with animated style. Quark and Garrick was pretty neat. So then after Tendi and Mariner, we freeze frame out to Prodigy, which looked terrible. It's like they literally put stickers from some little child's thing and like stuck them on there, and that made me so happy. They didn't move; they were just frozen. And then we moved on, Bob, into the animated series Trek. We see Sulu and Uhura. Then from Disco, we pan out and it's Saru. Then we freeze again, and it's Himmer from Strange New Worlds.
So at first I was confused by that, Matt, because I thought it was the Andorian from the alternate universe of the animated Trek, like the one we covered in episode 2, who replaces Spock. But then when you said it was Himmer, I went back and looked, and yeah, like his facial features, like there's like lines on his chin that are like, yeah, that's probably Himmer.
Bob, are you trying to say that you think all Andorians look the same?
Yes, Matt, I am trying to say that. And I do just want to say, Matt, that it's pretty ableist that you would use a visual metaphor to talk about a blind Andorian. I'm just saying.
Shut up. Now, let's go back to Neelix. Then the last one, Bob, we have is we find out this is all like Neelix's dream.
Yes, yes. Well, not quite.
Well, actually, no. We go back even further. I'm sorry. Go back even further. Then we have a conjoined Trek, bunch of characters like stuck together.
Yeah, they're a bunch of 70s Filmation style characters just jammed together in a horrifying mass.
And then the computer does it. The computer freezes.
Then the computer does, and a computer does it like twice. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. So, Matt, I gotta say, on the whole, like, I mean, A, I just kind of enjoyed tracing out all these references. B, I found this pretty funny. Did you find it pretty funny?
Yeah, it's probably one of the funniest of the very short Treks and short Treks that they've released so far. I mean, some of the stuff's been kind of funny, but this is like hilarious and very, very short.
Yeah, like the first very short Trek was just kind of clumsy. Like it had an okay joke, but it wrote it to the ground, you know, and it was not it. And by the time they finished it, it was not very good. And then I actually found like the first very short Trek was like Kirk complaining about figurative language, right?
Yes, that's right.
Or not Kirk, somebody else.
It was a captain, yeah.
Yeah, it was a captain. And then the second one was like a Strange New Worlds one where like Spock is attempting to understand humor with like Uhura and Himmer. Mm-hmm. And it was actually pretty funny until the end. I just thought was like gross and not that funny. And granted, maybe I'm a little too much of a prude about like physical comedy, but I don't know. I just thought the end of the second one, I'd liked it till then, and it kind of undermined it. And then the third one was just kind of gross the entire time with like Crusher and Riker on an away mission to a disgusting alien species.
Yeah, they weren't as funny. This one's hilarious though, so well worth a quick watch. I mean, like 2 minutes 30 seconds, you'll survive.
Yeah. They finally found it, and then I don't know if I think it's funnier than the short Trek, The Trouble with Edward, but we'll talk about that as we get to Tribbles in the last section of the episode. Matt, did you have a favorite cameo in this one?
Yeah, I got to go to Quark and his keychain. That's just hilarious.
Nice. Yeah, I really liked all the cameos. I might enrage you and just go the Prodigy kids, just because this is the only time I've seen the Prodigy kids and I've not been immediately filled with hate and rage.
Well, that's because they were like a static image. It was like pasted on top of a cartoon.
Yeah, well, and also like the only place they belong is like as you know as a punchline in a just totally absurd little short animated feature. That's all Prodigy needs to be.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so Matt, we should move along into Empathological Fallacies, the new Lower Decks episode. What the hell happens in that one?
All right, Bob. So Freeman, T'Lyn, and Mariner deal with 3 Betazoid ambassadors while Boimler insults the security team. So, Bob, I just want to ask you something. Was this whole episode a throwback to that DS9 episode we covered a long time ago called Fascination? The Betazoids bring on Xanthi fever.
You were really excited about this catch, weren't you? I got like, the text messages, and I hadn't watched the episode because I was still at work and didn't know what you were talking about.
It's because I've made the connections now, Bob. I can do it. It's like the little synapses in my brains are like connecting one thing to the next. It's like learning.
Yeah. So
for real.
that is the one where Luxana has the Xanthi fever and she's projecting the emotions out into the DS9 crew. Is that the one?
Yes, and they're all like all over each other, and I think that's the one with Bashir and Kira hook up.
Well, so yeah.
And Odo gets pissed.
And Odo is pissed. On the one hand, you're right, but on the other hand, your great triumph is just a red herring, Matt, because we find out it's not that telepathic disease, but it's maybe a sort of equivalent of a different telepathic disease that like Vulcans have, specifically the one we saw from the Sarek episode of The Next Generation called Sarek. I believe that disease is called like Bendai syndrome.
Damn you, Trek.
You're right, but you're wrong, Matt, is what I'm saying.
Yes, I know. They tricked me. Sometimes
So Matt,
I'm just sometimes, Bob, my vast knowledge of Trek is just to a fault. I'm just
yeah. If anything, your problem is you know too much about Star Trek, and also you're just too good looking and too charming. These are
Bob,
your problems.
That's exactly what's going on. You have nailed it down.
So Matt, did the 3 Betazoid ambassadors give you vibes more of Londo's wives from Babylon 5, something else we've covered, or did they give you more vibes of the 3 witches from Macbeth, or the 3 fates from Greek mythology, that sort of thing?
I got Londo's wives, Bob. I knew something wasn't registering when I first watched the episode, but then once you mentioned this, when you asked this question, I noticed it's like that's what it was. I'm like, this seems so familiar to me. When they're all on the station together, there's three of them. It's just like Londo's wives.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also a kind of funny way to like one up Next Generation, right? Of like, you usually, granted, this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but you usually have Lexana Troy coming on the ship being all like, happy go lucky, party time, loose, whatever. And here you just have like three versions of that cranked up another few notches, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So of the names, Matt, did you prefer the name Dolorix, Catrot, or Cthulhu?
So Dolorix, how do you say Catrot? Catro?
I said Catrot, but maybe
Catrot?
Yeah, Catrot.
Okay.
Catrot, maybe.
I'm going to go with Dolorex. I don't know why. It has
Dolorix.
Dolorix, yeah, it does have that sound.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, who had the better names, though? Londo's wives or these three? The Londo's wives were Timov, Daguerre, and Mariel.
Definitely Londo's wives, because they were a little more subdued in their humor. And then what is the joke he makes about them, that their names are also like plague, famine, and war or something?
Correct,
like
yes.
That? Yeah. As for our three Betazoid ambassadors here, I would say Cthulhu as a name really cracks me up.
It's like Kathy with a W at the end.
Yes, yes. So, Matt, my favorite thing in this episode, and also my favorite thing that this episode has taught, or this show has taught us about vacations, is that they used to hunt for Betazoid flesh, and they still hunger for it.
Yeah, how awkward is that, Bob? Like,
oh, it's great, man. It's great.
Like being around someone generations later after your species was eating them.
Oh man, I really hope we get when they do the inevitable like Lower Decks Discovery like homage episode, I really want Dr. Tayana to hunt Saru.
Yeah, I would totally like dig that. That needs to happen. Please make that happen. And we don't know how old Saru. Well, Saru's in the future. Never mind. Saru can come back from the future.
Yeah. Or maybe just another Kelpian. But regardless, I need Dr. Tayana to be as into flesh fish. Yeah, fish flesh as she is into like party girl flesh.
We really haven't seen a lot of Discovery crossover. Well, because it doesn't exist technically in there.
Yeah, partly because it doesn't exist.
Wouldn't that be really weird though?
Yeah. Well, and I think partially they probably don't want. Like, they're probably a little more gun shy about having Lower Decks, like homage / mock something that's still going on. But I'm hoping when Discovery ends, the kind of, they'll open the floodgates on that a little.
Something will happen. Maybe there'll be their actual place in history will be acknowledged somehow. They'll just get back in time. I don't know.
Although that said, I haven't followed it closely because you can't trust a lot of reporting these days about these things.
That is correct.
But it sounds like season 5 wasn't originally planned to be the end of Disco, and they had to do some reshoots on the finale to kind of make it an acceptable series finale.
Oh shit! This sounds a lot like Babylon 5.
Well, I think not really.
Didn't Babylon 5 wasn't promised that 5th season, right? Isn't that right?
Well, yeah, but it had much more profound consequences on Babylon 5 because like Babylon 5 wasn't they weren't sure they would get the 5th season. So in the 4th season, they did the things that were originally planned for the 4th and the 5th season. And then
I bet that's what Disco does, though.
No.
I don't think so.
No, not at all. They didn't. They thought they were getting more. Then it was canceled, and they just reshot the finale, man.
Oh, geez, that's gonna suck ass.
That's what I said. Yeah.
Wow. Sorry, I missed
not necessarily.
Okay.
Not
That's
necessarily.
gonna suck ass, probably.
We'll see. I mean,
when you gotta redo your whole finale because you thought you were gonna get another season.
They didn't redo the whole finale. They did limited reshoots to make it like
reshoots.
Yeah, I mean that's what the reporting was. Like, it's not that they redid the finale. It's just that they added in like probably some grace notes to go out on.
I bet the last 20 minutes is like completely detached from the rest of the episode.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, sadly, we probably won't cover it because I don't like, even though I now hate Discovery, I still don't really want to like market myself as a Discovery hater, you know? But there's some talk that like, oh, Discovery redeems itself with this season. There's also some talk of like, oh, they had to go with more action adventure, which it's like, did they not do like maybe arguably already too much of that before?
They did. So, that's why it wasn't fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what it is. We probably, if we cover it, it'd probably just be like a single episode about the whole season, right?
Yeah. I like how the things we dislike, Bob, get launched into like far places. We didn't like Discovery, so they just launch that shit as far in the future as they possibly can, so it doesn't really have any effect. We didn't like Prodigy, we'll just like get rid of it, and then we'll make fun of it on Lower Decks.
Yeah.
We need to be careful what we say, Bob.
Did you see if the Save Prodigy people were pissed about this episode? I didn't notice.
I haven't even looked. No, that would have been a fantastic comment. Damn, I wish I would have found it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun.
I'll go diving for one. I'm sure there's one somewhere.
All right. So Matt, is it just me, or is the idea of the Betazoid Intelligence Agency very unsettling?
Well, Bob, this sounds a lot like the other show we watched that I've already mentioned once before. This sounds a lot like Babylon 5.
Yeah, really rich with Babylon 5 references today. And so this is a minor detail, and it kind of connects to your enthusiasm of recognizing the references to Xanthi fever. Yeah, I was consulting. I wanted to fact check a couple things, and so I was looking back in the Memory Alpha article on this episode of Lower Decks, and there was a link to an article about a baton. And I was like, oh, cool. That's some sort of like Betazoid baton weapon from a Next Generation episode that I don't remember, but that's a neat Easter egg. And then I click on the link to the baton article from Memory Alpha, and no, it's just an article about when batons have shown up in Star Trek.
Yeah, this type of phenomenon needs a name, Bob.
Yeah, very much so. Okay, so we haven't talked yet much about like the security team, does therapy on Boimler, but in the course of this, Shax whips out the orb case. And Matt, were you expecting there to actually be an orb in that orb case?
Bob, I wanted Cisco to fly out of that shit.
But instead, Matt, you did not get Cisco. You got a puzzle of Malcolm Reed or a deck of tarot cards. So if you're given the choice of the puzzle of Malcolm Reed or the tarot deck, what are you going with?
Well, I know in the notes, Bob, I put tarot, but now that I think about it, I kind of would prefer the Malcolm Reed puzzle. Now that I've like thought it through a little longer.
Well,
I was logical. It's fun to find you have a solution at the end. I was
going to accuse you of being a new age witch girl, so I guess it's good that you changed your answer. Hypocritically, I would probably go with the tarot deck. If it were a puzzle of almost anything else, I would go with the puzzle. But not Malcolm Reed is like the worst character on Star Trek Enterprise. He's the Neelix of Star Trek Enterprise.
I had to look his ass up, Bob. I couldn't remember who he was.
Yeah.
Now that I realize, now I'm going to go back on my answer again, Bob, and say Tarot, because I thought Malcolm Reed was Malcolm McDowell from New Generations.
Yeah. An understandable confusion. An understandable confusion.
My bad. Yeah, I would go with the Tarot then.
Matt, were you surprised that T'Lyn is 62?
Nah, Vulcans be old, Bob.
Yeah, and she's 62 and having her quarter life crisis. And then just to close out on this Lower Decks episode, we see a Romulan ship lurking in the neutral zone, disappointed that the Cerritos doesn't cross the zone, and I was just really appreciative of the Romulan enthusiasm for lurking. They're going to go lurk somewhere else, Matt.
They are. I mean, it's just a fun job to have, just waiting on the border for someone to cross.
Yeah, I could get into it. So,
let's go, Bob. Let's go join the Border Patrol so we can be like the Romulans.
Well, when you put it like that, I don't want to oppress. I don't want to help oppress. Like
we can still wear the ears, Bob. We can.
That's terrible. I don't want to do that.
Can you imagine that though, Bob? If these poor people were trying to migrate over to America, and they're greeted by us in Romulan gear.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like American Border Patrol already pretty close to like America's SS, And the only thing that could make it worse would be is if they're in cosplay. That's what I would say. Dear God. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, man. We live in a really awful country at an awful time in history, Matt.
We live in an awful world, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an awful world. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And anybody listening, we don't have that many listeners, but that's okay. But if you are listening, we're not like glass half full, glass half empty people. We just like to admit what's really around us. We want to make the best of it.
Man, speak for yourself on that.
Bob doesn't want to make the best of it.
No.
Bob wants it to
Matt.
suck.
Let's just say that Bob's officially blackpilled on the possibility of improvement. How about that? So, who's your character of the week?
Talin, Bob.
I'm going to go Tayana. I was tempted with Talin, but just the idea of Tayana hunting and eating Betazoid just makes me so happy that I'm going to go with Tayana.
Yeah. So, Bob, let's talk about this animated series for a moment. Because I was all excited because I'm thinking, the Tribbles are coming back. We're going to have a really cute episode with Tribbles. This is more Tribbles, more Troubles.
Yeah. And what's the plot of this one, Matt?
In the plot of this one, Bob, Klingons, Tribbles, and Cyril Jones are all back.
Yeah, I really worked hard on that plot summary, Matt.
Yeah. It's like all the characters from the other episode are back for this one.
So I know you're going to crap on this one a lot, probably deservedly so. I do want to begin by saying I really do like the robot grain ship design a lot. Like, I think it's a very cool design.
Yeah, it's a little over-designed for a grain ship.
Yeah, I think that the idea was that those could be grain ships, but they also could serve other functions, and so
it's like scout ships or something. I think is what they said.
Yeah. And so I think the thinking was that they would show up later in the animated series too.
They did not look the way I expected a grain ship would look. You would think
no,
it would look like
not at all.
Semi truck or something in space, but no.
Yeah, but it was kind of cool.
Like
it was kind of cool.
Starfighter.
Yeah, too big to be a starfighter, but a little bit like in the shape. Yeah, definitely. So I do feel like there's a weird and inverse relationship between the power of this new Klingon disruptor stasis field, which are all words they actually use to describe it, and the, let's just say the unimaginativeness of the animation of the disruptor stasis field.
Hey, Bob, you remember how, in the beginning of this, we were like, there's so much more they could do in an animated world of Trek. So many more adventures they could have. And then here they are being, cheap-ass with the animation and not showing us more cool shit.
That said, I mean, they do get to stage a relatively complicated engagement in this episode through animation, more complicated than they could have with the original series. So I'd give it to them for that. I mean, I'm not saying it's a great starship battle or anything, but
they pull off a giant triple. They could never have done that in the original Trek.
I'm just saying, the fight between the Enterprise, the Klingon D7, and then the 2 or 3 robot, I think it's 2 robot ships. Yeah. It makes sense. They plot it out and set it up pretty well. The animation is pretty good for that, just really bad for the weapon. So, Matt, how did you feel about the revelation that the Klingons are tree huggers, that they're pursuing Cyril Jones for ecological sabotage?
I think it's all a lie. I think they're just pissed about them Tribbles getting put on their ship.
I like it. It's, we should start guillotining CEOs, and we should charge them with ecological sabotage, Matt. It's a good plan.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. In principle, yes, that's fine.
Were you happy to see Captain Koloth again, Matt?
I was, Bob. I've seen this Klingon many a time. I mean, this is
yeah.
Once again, Bob, those little, they're just connecting. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw him in DS9. I saw him in TOS.
Yeah, it's like Harry Mudd, but worse.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one Klingon I can remember, other than Worf.
Oh yeah, no, that I messed that up. It was you were still talking about Captain Koloth. I thought you were talking about Cyril Jones. My bad.
Sorry.
No. It wasn't your bad. It was my bad.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
So Matt, speaking of Cyril Jones, is that the longest a human's ever been in transporter stasis, at least to this point in the franchise?
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing, Bob. And one of my issues, I bought a soundbar for my TV. Okay, TV had we got a newer TV a little while back. And we had speakers on the side, But I was like, I want to see what a soundbar would sound like. So I purchased one, put it there. This thing's really cool. It gives really, the surround sound now in the living room, which is awesome. But anytime any of these cartoons like this, they use those old ass like sounds I guess they made from like, I don't know, hitting glass jars or something. I don't know what they did. But half the sounds they make for the things, their sound effects, just blow up my soundbar and make it obnoxious to watch the show. One of them is the transporter. Yeah, and so the dude was stuck in stasis forever. I'm like, holy shit, what is going on?
Nice.
So thank you, TOS Animated Series, for making me regret my purchase of a soundbar. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
you should have guessed this kind of technology would be around back then, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the soundbar should have just designed itself with Filmation Star Trek in mind, man.
It really should have. That's the other thing. Or I could just not be lazy and like turn the fucking volume down, but that's not me.
that's not our Matt.
Or like learn how to use the machine. I could do that, but why? Just do it itself. When I watch my Star Trek cartoon.
So Matt, do you have thoughts on the pink safe fat tribbles?
Well, they look like those furry beanbag things that kids have in their rooms that they like sit on.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. That's true, man.
Yeah.
Not only have I seen those, I've sat on them, Matt.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. They're like, it seems like we could actually own these types of things if we wanted.
So, Matt, did you have any thoughts on the Glomer, a.k.a. the Tribble Predator that Cyril Jones also introduces?
A.k.a. the Hanna-Barbera shit, yes.
Yeah. Well, Matt, you may say that, but the Glomer is my character of the week.
Well, that's great, Bob. I'm glad Glomer would be your character of the week. Mine's the giant Tribble that was actually a colony of Tribbles.
Okay,
and
that's
they did a fantastic
choice.
job animating that.
Yeah, no. It's just, we say it's character of the week, but really this week it should be animation of the week. A giant Tribble that's colony versus the Glomer.
Yeah, you get this giant Tribble, and then magically, when they zap it, it turns into little bitty Tribbles.
All right, Matt. So we've had 4 Tribble episodes now in the course of Star Trek. Do you remember what they are?
There's Trouble with Tribbles, More Tribbles, More Troubles, Trials and Tribulations, and Trouble with Edward.
And do you want to remind the listeners what each of those are in case they forgot?
So Trouble with Tribbles is the original series episode that I actually owned on VHS. More Tribbles, More Troubles is the episode we just reviewed, the animated series. Trials and Tribulations is the DS9 episode where they go back in time and revisit the events of Trouble with Tribbles.
And I believe they did it for, was it the 30th anniversary of Star Trek that they did that for?
Yes, 30th anniversary. And then Trouble with Edward is a Star Trek short trek.
Yeah. Where is it Edward invented the Tribbles? Is that what we find out?
Yes, I believe so. I think that's right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that one, although I must confess, I don't remember it so strongly.
Yeah, I don't either, but it's okay.
But I remember it being like one of, if not the best of the short treks.
All right, Bob, if I had to rank these, I'm going to go Trouble with Tribbles at the beginning because it's the original episode. It's a mainstay in the entire series. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows that episode. Even people not involved with Trek know that episode. Or they did back in the 90s. But true. Next, I would have Trials and Tribulations, the DS9 episode where they go back in time.
Yes. Then
I would put Trouble with Edward. Even though I don't remember much about it, I do know that it was pretty good. Like as far as like it was okay. The story,
and it also at the time it inspired some really funny like men's rights activists claiming that it was like anti-men or some shit, which was great.
Yes, and that of course just adds to it, Bob. That makes it even better.
Yeah.
And then More Tribbles, More Troubles comes at the very end because this was not that great of an episode.
No, sadly. Depressingly, on the one hand, arguably one of the better animated series episodes, although also maybe arguably not. But I don't know. But still, yeah, much less than the other 3. I would agree with that ranking.
Well, it was cool to see the other guy. It was cool to see those characters come back, even if in animated form, which is kind of what we're seeing with Lower Decks now, But
yeah. Nostalgia will get you very far, whether that nostalgia is about 50 years ago or I guess in the case of the animated series, it's about 7 years before?
Yeah, 7.
But yeah, nostalgia will get you very far. All right, Matt, we did it. We ranked all the Tribble episodes. We made it through 3 episodes of Star Trek, all animated. We'll be back next week. Probably my favorite animated series episode, which is because I had the novelization of it as a child, and I read that novelization
Would that
relentlessly.
be The Survivor, Bob?
That would be The Survivor, Matt.
So hang in there with us, folks.
All right. Thanks for joining us for this coverage of Star Trek Lower Decks and Filmation Star Trek. I am Bob in Cascadia. That's Matt in the Southland. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.